This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, I'm calling to order the meeting of the Ad Hoc Grant Search Committee for May 25th, 2023 at 2:02 p.m. And so far we have Kate and myself, and then we have our two guests today from the Public Safety Building Committee, Mark Donald, the chair, and Cindy Palmer, clerk, I think, or, yep, okay. So our purpose today, I don't see anybody waiting for open time for the public. As usual, it would be a major miracle if we had somebody popping in on our grant meeting. That'd be a real first. And then I think we'll just forego any minute discussion, and we'll just jump right into new business, which is really to try and take a look at where we are with the one-stop application form. So as you all recall, we got a somewhat positive feedback, although not overly detailed, on the expression of interest. And so I know, Mark, you've been tackling at this, and I have made the screen shared, but I can pull up the documents that you sent me. So which would you prefer? I think there's more on the narrative one. The handwritten one, you had just written in some of the beginning stuff, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we'll just pull up the main narrative one that I think you sent me right here. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that. Alrighty, let me get to the bottom. Top. Okay, we can make it a little bit bigger, maybe. So, just as a bit of prelude here, I was able to get in online, so my portal and my access is still active. So that was good. And then that first page, which is all, just the basics of contact information in Southampton and all that, that pre-populates, the district and everything else. And actually, this first question had pre-populated as well. So this was already in there in terms of the organization description. And then I believe 2.2, I think was, oh, here comes Diana, hold on. Hi, Diana. Just getting started here. So the first question in terms of the description of the organization, which is essentially the town itself, was already pre-populated when I got in on the portal. And I believe 2.2 was already in there as well. So we've got a bunch of narrative things to respond to, and many of these they're a little bit generous. So this very first one, which is the project narrative and scope of the work, that actually is up to 4,000 characters. That's probably the longest question with the ability to write a lot of narrative. Most of them are 2,000. Some you'll see down in the need one next is only 1,000. So I guess, Mark, why don't you tell us what you did? I don't recall. I didn't go back to the expression of interest, but I think some of this maybe was copied right out of the expression of interest to put in here as well. Is that right?
Yeah. Again, one of my issues. I took the sample one and tried to.
Oops. Are you got a little feedback? Yeah, we got feedback there somewhere.
Maybe everybody should.
Yeah, we'll mute just.
Can you hear me now? You can hear me? Okay. Yeah, what I did was I took the sample form that you gave me and was trying to fill it out in PDF, but it didn't work. So essentially I spent a lot of time, unfortunately, is formatting the document that I had, was copying the notes out of the sample application and putting it into a Word document that would make it easy to work with. And unfortunately, I think I spent an awful lot of time just doing the formatting and copying and putting it in this Word document, and not enough effort to answer all the questions that really need to be answered. And I took advantage of the stuff that you did earlier, Chris, and cut and pasted it into my narrative where I thought was appropriate. And again, had hoped to send this out sooner, but it is where it is right now. So I'm trying to put in a format that we could all comment on, make it easier to institute it into the official form on the website.
This actually does work probably the best way in terms of, I don't know that they really gave us a Word document. Oftentimes they give us a template that we can enter into as a sample, but I think this sample was, blocked out in many ways that they had on their website. But yeah, usually what we do is we work from a Word document and try to fill out as best we can all the narrative, and we're content with the narrative on the Word document. And then I just do cut and paste when I get in online. And sometimes that trips me up. Most times it's okay, but sometimes they change a question around, or there's another question in between that wasn't there on the sample template, etc. Hey, Ed. So we try to do the best we can with the sample questions they gave us. And so this one, we're done through 2.2, which is fine because that's the shortest one of 500 characters. And I think we still had another 100 characters or something to go on that one. But definitely we've got more space to write anything on this big one in terms of the scope of work itself. And then let's just go down through the whole thing and see how far we got. So we have a project need, that's 1,000 characters on that one. Target population description, and I do think a lot of this was pretty much verbatim from the old expression of interest, and I don't see that there's any need to recreate something new. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the expression of interest is what got us in the door, so I'm not sure that they go back and compare the expression of interest to this full application. So I think we're probably okay putting in things like the target population that was pretty much verbatim, I think, what I had put in the expression of interest.
Correct.
And then I recognize this from the state auditor's office on the anticipated outcomes. So I think that was all pretty much, we can tidy it up, but add to it, but I think we've got the core of whatever is there. So then we're really down to about 2.10, which is where we have a fair amount to be able to include. And so there's not much that was in that earlier one. So leadership and project management for the group, why it's an effective team to advance the project. Full name of the person who'll serve as the contact, and okay. So leadership and project management for the project. Okay. So that's something that I'm just going to highlight it. We definitely have to fill out more. So that's one that's got to be worked on. I do have my name in the portal as the contact, so I could still be the contact person. That's fine, from select board or grant committee, whatever. But that's got to have some work. So let's kind of go through these, and then we can maybe divvy up some tasks as to who can work on what. Progress to date. So this has got a fair amount.
It's just a short narrative that I wrote. I'm wide open for comments. So
yeah, okay. Well, and what we usually tend to do, so we'll Diana's really our wordsmither, and especially when we get over the number of characters, she's been great at helping us be much more concise in our descriptions. So some of that, we can maybe add to, but also take a look at other ones that really need more work. So
in that last question, it did ask about mention in other municipal plans. So I'm happy to go back and look at our master plan or, any other town documents and reference where it is in those documents. I can do that.
Okay, that would be great. Just to reference that. Sure. Master plan would probably be a good one.
I'm sure it's in the safety. What's the other one we're working on?
Was it in the wasn't in the hazard mitigation one?
I'm sure it's probably mentioned in there. I'll take a look at all the town documents.
Okay, you've got a handle on those anyway to see what's in there. Yeah, that's great. Sure. Thank you. Kate's our researcher. A lot of it. So we can add to that most likely, but this is where we are. So selected a public safety building committee, formed it, established a list of sites, and to hire an architectural firm. Narrowed the selection to 4, prepared, and let's get that on there. Okay. So the challenge I think we have with this, guys, is that we're trying to write in the future, right? Unlike, say, the senior center one, where the study is already done and we're really ready to kind of jump right in. This one's going to be a bit challenging because later on they ask for a site location and a site map, which seem to be required, and I'm not quite sure how we'll handle that. But just to say that that's one that's a bit of a challenge, and since we haven't, really undergone the feasibility part yet, it just makes it hard. We've got to keep in mind as we're writing that we're not talking about the next 6 months, right? Your deadline to finish the feasibility is like December, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so we're not really focusing on anything that's going to happen in the next 6 months, but we're talking about what will happen after that, which is, we just have to keep that in mind so we don't screw ourselves up in our narrative. But timeline wise, it works okay with this application the way I've read, because this is due obviously June 2nd, and the deadline, that's the deadline for applications, but the notification to us is sometime in the fall. It's not clear what month. I don't think I saw a month on that, but in the fall of 23, so the beginning of fiscal 24, we would be notified, and then it would, take effect for basically the rest of fiscal 24. So that part of the timing is kind of okay, but we probably need to add some more information here if we can, and so we'll leave it to Kate to pull in a few things maybe from master plan on that as well. Timeline. Oh, this is where I was. I'm sorry. Timeline. So let's understand this a little bit. This is where I meant to have my screen pointed here. Sorry. So all necessary permitting would be done simultaneously. Public information meetings would occur. Final design. Okay. So yeah. So then after this would be taking it into the next phase of the building study itself, right, Mark? I mean, this is the actual design and blueprints and that kind of stuff for that second phase after December.
Yes. Once we get the feasibility study done and we get approval from the town to go to the next step, which essentially would be hiring an architect to do the final design, and then anything to do with the site itself as far as purchase of the site or testing on the site. Mm-hmm. So that's what we would use the fund for, any or all of those things. I think the simplest one would be just simply allot it to the design, anticipating the design can be over $1 million. Right. Try to parse it out and say, well, we need X number of dollars for the parcel and X number of dollars for testing. We don't know those yet, but we do know that the design cost is going to exceed $1 million, and this grant's up to a max of $500,000.
Right. It is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I do think it's worth mentioning somewhere. I was thinking about this as I was cutting my grass today, but we talked to the people at the state regarding what was the public safety complex that was built? Was it Williamstown or Williamsburg, and they were able to get some funding because they incorporated green design. And I think that's worth mentioning in this application and kind of weaving that in, because it is a state priority to look at energy efficiency and environmental considerations. And I hope, I think that the more we try to incorporate that into all of the applications, like maybe we could apply for funding. It's not One Stop. What's the other program that
it would have been the MVP, the municipal,
MVP, yes.
Yeah, municipal vulnerability preparedness one. And so I think Williamsburg got some slice of money just because of the green design part. It wasn't for any building per se, but it was the green design portion of what they had in their design that they were able to get also some MVP money. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, it's certainly that the whole climate assessment, climate readiness, all that kind of stuff.
Resiliency. Yeah, I think it's just worth mentioning because it is such a high state priority.
Yeah, it is. It is. And since we usually fall flat on the social justice one, we don't really fit into the social justice categories. We try to tag ourselves onto Holyoke and Westfield as best we can, but it doesn't really give us a lot of points in the whole scheme of things. So that might be something we could weave in here.
I have a question regarding timeline also. Is this a place where we ought to give just at least a dab of history of the fact that we, as a town, have recognized the need for a public safety building for greater than a decade, maybe close to 2 decades, maybe longer than that, but that heretofore we've not been able to successfully engage the public enough to vote for one. Is this the right spot for something like that, that we got to get right this time?
Not for timeline, I don't think.
Okay.
I think I would aim maybe a little bit in progress, but I'm thinking back up to depending on how many characters we have in Project Need. They don't give us too many here. Let me see if I can do anything about that. Where is that?
Would it go in scope of work, in that we do need to engage the public as part of the scope of work?
Possibly, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a long narrative, but in that we've known that for a great deal of time that we've needed this building, and therefore public engagement is
right.
Really important. And we say that all the time in our meetings.
Yep. I think we've got room. Looks like we might have a couple hundred characters that we could, 200 to 300 characters that we might be able to weave a couple sentences in here.
Which
depends
one?
whether they're
2.5?
counting this, whether they're in 2.5, whether they're counting the spaces or not counting spaces, but when they count their characters. And there may be, I think there's more room in the scope of work.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
It might be something that we could kind of tie in, but make a reference to it in Project Need, just as a 1-sentence link to the first part, perhaps, or something like that.
It also might be worth mentioning somewhere under Project Need about the aging population in town and the increased need for emergency services in town. Or like growing population. And I know it says that we don't have public transportation or public sewer, but we are growing, and to support, we need to have adequate public safety resources.
Sure. Yep. Good point. Yep. Okay. So a couple things there. And then I think as we get down, I'm not able to see the budget here, but I'm going to guess that when I get to that online, you can't advance a page to another page online until you've filled out all the previous questions on that page. So it does allow you to save what you've done and come back to it. But unless if you skip a question, it won't let you go on to the next page. So I haven't been able to see the budget chart yet, but I'm going to guess it's typical in terms of, categories and estimated costs. So I think we do have to, if we're going to go for 500,000, we do need to kind of chop it down into something, at least maybe three subcategories, I would say. I don't know.
It is like a spreadsheet there. You have to fill in the blanks on the spreadsheet. And there's really only one place I think we could actually put in a dollar amount, and that's on, it's called a category spending description, pre-construction, parentheses, design, engineering, permitting, bidding, etc.
Okay.
And then we would fill in that dollar amount, and I threw in there $500,000 if you'll see the PDF that I sent you, but all the others, like 6 different spreadsheet blocks. But I think that's the only one that we would qualify for. So it's just a single number, $500,000 on that pre-construction spending description.
Okay, so it didn't ask then to subdivide that at all from what you saw.
There's only so many holes you can fill in there, and if you fill in a blank, different categories.
Okay.
They don't give you a blank place to put in. You have to fill in one of those categories. Yeah. And so that's what I would suggest that we do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And one of the things I forget which question it was, but I know we had to check at some point. There were multiple choices in terms of the category and so forth that we were applying for. And you would fill that out. It was building construction was like the next subcategory, and then it was municipal building or something. So all those
Yeah.
things. Once you fill in those buttons, then it pops up with a note saying, 2.2 to 2.23 are required. So,
Right. Yeah, that was on the feedback. They said check off building
Mhm.
construction in a subcategory underneath that municipal building construction.
right. So once you do that, the application program automatically directs you to certain questions because you've checked a particular category. But anything we see here that's up to 2.23 does seem to apply to us. So let's just keep on scrolling and see what we got here. Line item explanations for the cost. Let's see. So that's the budget, hopefully, and then any explanation of the methods for estimating project costs. So we've got this portion of the anticipated articulation. Okay, so we got a little bit right there, and that's fine. And then providing a match. What are we saying about a match to this?
It's you have an option, yes or no. And that's a question for the town or anybody else.
Yep.
So I assume we'll have to match it because $500,000 is not going to satisfy our needs.
Yep. And I honestly don't recall in the instructions if a match is required on this one. Was there like a 20?
I can look that up.
Would you mind if there was a 20% match or something required or any figure on that?
I think you get bonus points for it.
If you do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we could weave in, again, because everything's hypothetical anyway, we could put in here somewhere that we, what is the match? Say yeah.
You sort of have to answer it on 215, 215A, and 215B. You sort of have to answer those questions.
Right. What I'm thinking is we could put in some of the argument I put into Senator Warren and Senator Markey's office when we asked for that supplemental whatever that thing was from the legislature. We won't know that we'll have it for several months, but we can say that we have already, we're in the process of identifying, likely sources for a grant match, including, reaching out to our legislators and requesting some supplemental funds in their discretionary budget.
It does say that preference will be given to projects that leverage match funding outside of requested grant funds, but outside funding is not a prerequisite.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay. I don't think we know of any other fund offhand that would help us out. I don't think we've run across other grants that would be of any use as a co-match. Certainly CPC doesn't fit into this one, which we
does in kind like time count for anything?
Don't know. I guess it'll depend on what it allows me to put in there. Question on that, but yeah. So I'll try to tackle this 215-ish one.
As far as that question Caitlin just asked about in kind, one of the things we've discussed in our meetings was in order to get public engagement, creating a video of what our current fire and police station look like. Also, speaking to the public, in public meetings. I don't know if that applies, having our police chief and our fire chief tour, create tours of the current stations. I don't know if that applies because it's not really design or engineering. It's just public engagement. I don't know.
Yeah. I can't remember if there was a question up above about, was there something about public engagement or something up here? There usually is.
I think it comes later on.
Okay. I've seen one somewhere, I think. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, okay. Let me just keep on scrolling down just for a minute. So 15, we'll see if we can tackle that a little bit. Now, match from local ARPA funds.
I was just going to say, could we use some ARPA funding if would we be able to, because it's so late?
We put some money aside from ARPA for the current feasibility study that's happening now. So we put up to 75,000 for that. So we could
I think we should just mention it. It can't hurt.
We could mention it. It wouldn't be a match for this particular activity, but we could certainly mention that we thought it was important enough that we put up that amount of money to get the feasibility study underway. So that's a possibility. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that they really break down, feasibility to like design as being completely separate phases.
Right. Hard to know. I mean, some of this stuff is, when you get in line, like I say, sometimes it changes on you. Whatever they sort of show you as a sample isn't always the same thing when you see it on the portal. So we can tackle. I'll work on tackling 215. How's that? And
do we match with ARPA funds? The second question is, how much of ARPA funds are you going to allot?
Okay. So, well, we had that 75. So.
Are there more ARPA funds available so we could say, like, if this funding is awarded, we could, request that the select board approve additional funding, or are we kind of tapped out?
We're getting pretty tapped out, I think, unless we get another infusion, which we're not really expecting. And we really haven't seen, and I'm keeping my eyes out, but we haven't seen a whole lot yet in terms of the big, infrastructure bill. In terms of how that filters down to the communities. So we need to do a bit more work on that, because that would be another one that we could look to for the future in terms of any kind of money like this, I think. But there has been very little said, and so much of it, I think, has gone from federal to state, but state has been pretty not quick, I guess I would say, in terms of letting municipalities know how they can access anything. And then, of course, anything that's a federal money is just a nightmare of a grant application, worse than this. But anyway, so then we get down into, I think, I'm not sure, is that 216, Mark? Is that the ARPA fund one? Is that what that?
No, 215D is the amount of ARPA funds, and 216, that just says, do you have a cost estimate proposal from a consultant? And the answer to that's no.
Okay.
It's just a yes or no question.
Okay. All right.
Have you talked to a consultant yet that has given you any sort of price, like cost estimate? Because it did ask, like, the question above was asking about estimated funds and like how you got to that number. So if you got kind of a ballpark from anybody, it might be worth mentioning that in that question. It says explanation of methods for estimating project costs. So if you talk to a consultant or you have somebody in the committee that maybe gave you some sort of idea, it might be worth at least mentioning that you're just not like pulling a number out of the sky.
Yeah. That would be good in 213. Yeah, that would be good.
It's never called pulling a number out of the sky. It's called back of the hand.
Back of the hand. Okay, back of the hand. Sorry, Ed.
I thought that was sleight of hand. No.
Wouldn't sleight of hand be great if we could just pull $1 million?
Wasn't it, back of the envelope? No, I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so I think maybe Mark, if you could expand on 213, that would be helpful.
Okay.
So then I think where we get challenged is down here on 17 and 18, because that's where they're looking for location and a site map. What I could see online is it does allow for more than one site location to be entered in, but I'm pretty sure that's only if you have your project is going to be on two separate sites. It's not because you haven't decided on a site yet. So this is one we're going to have to finesse a little bit and figure out how we can.
Could you just put the proposed sites?
It may only allow one. I'm not sure if it's a fill in the blank, like a little Excel spreadsheet, or what it's going to look like in terms of the actual question itself. If it's a narrative, I could, yeah.
And you have those addresses?
Yeah.
Yeah, that shows down in the next. If you scroll up a little bit, I put those down under 219, the four sites.
Yeah, hold on. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
2.17, 2.18, they want the project addresses, and then 2.18 is the project IDs. I have those available, but I can slide those in there.
Yeah. Those would be the actual maps themselves, or is that just?
Right, a booking page for the addresses, and then a booking page.
Okay. All right. That would probably be good to do. And I don't know, it would be very hard to put in a site map since we haven't got a final location yet. Does the yeah, boy.
Could you say that the input from the architect, like may determine and, estimated cost based upon the location might influence the decision? Like, how do you determine the site if you don't even have an architect yet?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Mark, go ahead.
No, we're in the process, hopefully in the next day or two, hiring an architect to do a feasibility study to narrow down which of the 4 sites it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right, but could you put that in the application?
Pardon?
Could you just say like the final site will be determined based upon cost estimates for each location?
We could talk about
Cost
that,
of
but
feasibility?
yeah, I mean, the problem is they want a map on the project location. And so we don't have a site map. There would be, 4 separate, well, at least 3 separate, but at least, possibly 4 separate maps, which I'm pretty sure we couldn't include.
Could we take one document and put 4 little maps in one document?
Well, 217 says the project address is 218 parcel IDs. And then they have a box there. It says attachment here, attach a map showing the project location. So potentially make a PDF of the 4 sites and attach it at that location.
Maybe. I mean, Kate's got an idea there of what we've done before is we've combined files. So if we had, does your map of Clark Street happen to show 79 and 89 in one big thing, or are they 2 separate maps?
Right now, we're just utilizing the town tax maps.
Yeah. Well, if there's a way to put all 4 of those in one file, and then it would be a PDF, to combine all 4 of those into one file, and we could make the narrative would just show that these are the sites under consideration.
Do you have the maps like in digital format?
I don't, but I think I could make one.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I'm like, I could always finagle something.
Yeah, I mean, we're just pulling off the town tax maps.
Well, weren't those
maybe
four,
a mass mapper or something like that? So
weren't those 4 maps also in the senior center feasibility study? And isn't that in the final document? Could we plagiarize from there completely?
Are they the same sites? Yeah.
Yeah. Aren't they,
Okay.
Mark? They're the 2 the 2 Clark Street sites, 0 College Highway and the 210 College Highway.
that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can certainly take a look at that, the senior center study then. Yeah, we might be able to pull that out of there and see if we can make any use of that.
Would it be worth also mentioning that, Cindy, to say that a senior center is also being constructed and sites, the same sites are being considered for both things? Like,
I don't know the answer to that. Is that going to help us or confuse things? I mean,
no, I just didn't know if it would help them to know, like, we're working on multiple projects, and that's kind of like both of those things need to be determined.
I don't know.
Senior centers narrowed theirs down at least in terms of a choice, but
That's good.
so yeah, let's maybe not confuse them with another building project here. But do we have, I mean, I'm thinking you must have something in terms of what you've been talking about already in terms of an idea of square footage that you want to have for the public safety complex, or?
Well, I mean, this is a description of the sites and the buildings on the sites. This is not a description of what we're proposing to do.
Yeah, but it says it includes square footage ownership history, blah, 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 blah.
Would that be square footage of the project site or building?
Yeah, project sites. I got that pulled together. The location, ownership.
Right here. Mm-hmm. You
Site
have that,
one's
so
vacant site. Site 2 is 210 College Highway. Site 3 is Clark Street, vacant site, and site 4 is Clark Street's a vacant lot as well. I mean, I don't know how much more we need to get into there.
It just says include square footage. So could you include the square footage of the property?
Yes, I do have that. Not going to add that to there.
okay.
I mean, it's something.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and I guess the
other thing, Chris, I'm interrupting your thoughts, sorry.
go ahead. Yep.
In terms of square footage of the building, we don't know at all until we see the feasibility study. But one thing we do know is that we want it to be cost effective and representative of just what we need for the town and nothing extra.
Yeah.
Cindy, I think
Yeah, go ahead.
no, Cindy, this is a description of the existing sites and existing buildings, not what we're proposing to put on the sites.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So Mark, you can add a bit more to that then to
I'll
flesh
add
that out.
some-
We've got more room here. Yeah. And I don't know, historic considerations. I mean, obviously the fire station falls into that category, but I don't know if we have to mention anything about that.
They both fall in. They're both historic old structures. Police and fire. Oh, you mean in terms of the possible
The sites, yeah.
location? The sites, yeah.
Yeah. So describe the project site or building. So I think this is where we're hoping to go. It's not the current location, right?
No, this
It
is
also says unique challenges like demolition of the current fire station is, at least like there'd be less challenges with the other sites.
I don't know. Mark, go ahead. Yep.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, were you thinking that this is describe the current project site? I didn't read it that way.
No, this is a description of the proposed sites that you're going to proposed
yeah.
site or sites. It's not talking about the project, it's talking about the site itself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see if we can maybe combine. We'll take a look at the senior center one and see if we can see those maps, but then we can maybe add a little bit more narrative. We've got 1,000 characters worth there, so we can maybe have a little bit added, but just note anytime we have a space or extra spaces that those count against our characters. So we may need to tighten those up a little bit, but so what's the zoning of sites 220?
That is a only the sites 220. Let me pull up my.
Was that in the handwritten?
No, it's a checkbox. So what type of use is currently allowed by zoning of each of the pro sites? It says check all that apply, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then other or none of the above. So I guess it's a case of looking at zoning bylaws for each one of these sites, but it's going to be difficult because we only have check boxes. There's industrial commercial for one, residential single family townhome for the second one, residential multifamily is the third one, mixed use is the other one, and the last one is other. And the fact that we have 4 sites and there's own 3 different ways. I'm not sure what's allowed in each one of those 3 different zones.
Could you respond to that question by including the actual zoning in the question above, the one where you're actually going to list the sites?
Yes, we could list it, each one zone AV or IP or.
Yeah.
Right.
But then we'd have to discuss what IP means because it's not a national, international
Write
zone.
it out. And,
Zone internet, industrial
Mm-hmm.
professional.
Yeah.
And then I
Okay.
guess we would check all the boxes that are applicable to the sites.
Yeah, if it allows us to check more than one box, we're golden. If not, we may end up checking other. Or
It
none of
says
the
check,
above.
check all that apply.
Yeah, okay. Well, that gives us some leeway, perhaps. That might be all
Yeah,
right.
and one of the boxes is other, and there's a line next to it where you can write something in.
Okay. All right. Okay. Then review for potential 43D 221.
That's a simple question, and I have no idea what it means. It's just, it says, would you like this application to be reviewed for a potential 43D expediting permitting designation of the site? I'm assuming not.
Yeah,
We don't
probably
need
not.
expeditious. Yeah, so I'm assuming
Yeah.
that's just a no check mark.
Okay. All right. I'll probably see it when I get online here. And then
I
down
just
to
looked it up. It just means that you'll get guaranteed permitting within 180 days.
okay.
It's just part of the community one stop for growth process. It just makes it so you can get permits faster.
So it's one of their mainlined whatever processes. Yeah, I don't think we're ready for that yet. So that would be a little bit ambitious maybe to check that as a yes. And then I think the main one here, 223. So this is for Rural and Small Town Development Fund. And this is definitely where we qualify. So once we check this box, something else will open for us.
Yes.
And were you able to see that? You're saying
I'm not able to see that, but I just gut feeling as we get to the end of the sample sample application, it seems like that's what's there. So, so if you're my document there,
Yep. It's like 6R4 or
yeah, it's the R one. So
R1, 2, and 3 answer is no, is what you wrote.
page
right?
28.
Yeah.
R1, R2, R3. The answer would be no, and R4.
I can help with that question.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That
Great.
looks right up my alley.
Jobs and workforce and retain workers and all that stuff.
There's also that study that was referenced about how rural communities have many rural communities have inadequate safety facilities. I could probably pull a few quotes out of there that pertain to Southampton.
Okay. Yeah. So that would probably be R4A, I think, because the others all look like they'd be just yes or no questions, probably. So if yes, describe how this would impact direct economic development, not limited to job growth, retention, land use, and population trends, significance to the region, probably.
I'll try to do something for that question.
On that a little bit. Okay. And then certification by select board. So, yikes. Okay.
So we jump back to.
So let's go back to, I think we're around I think most of this. Yeah, we're back at the beginning here. So we have these. So if well, I'm trying to think whether we should put this like in a Google Doc, and then we could all go back in and work in and off of it so that we're all working on the same document.
I think that would be great. I mean, I know we don't love Google Documents, but I just think given the fact that we only have 5 days.
All right. Yeah. So
I'm going to be going on vacation on the 28th. So my goal is to do my part before the 28th because I might not have internet after that.
Perfect. Okay. So after we're done here, I'll plop this into Google Docs and send out the link for everybody.
Okay.
So I think basically, and it goes into what, Kate, you have to check editing mode, or what do you check on there when you get in?
You can do editing or suggesting.
Okay.
If I'm going to do like paragraphs though, I'll just like make it in a color or something. So that way there's not like a million comments, because that drives me nuts.
Yeah, no, I agree that the comments kind of drive me crazy too. So I think if you want to make some changes, if you could just put it in underneath what's there or insert it, but bold it or put it in another color or something so it's visible for anybody to see what's been added. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably more we can add under the project narrative and scope. Cindy, you were going to try and tackle that a little bit more. talking about that with the project need and the past
I'll
history
try
of,
I'll throw
yeah.
some stuff in if I can, yeah.
see if that works a little bit. I think target, and that tied into that one of project need of, we identified the need many, many years ago, and we're finally starting to make progress on, recognition for how serious this need is. Target population, that looks like we've got a fair amount written already, but there's always possibilities to add anything. So outcome. Well, we've at least got some basics in here, so we can always go back and add little bits and pieces if we think it's not a strong enough argument. There's usually a little bit of room to add another couple sentences in there, but where we need to focus probably is on 210. So, Mark, you want to try and tackle 210? Leadership and ability to execute.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. Do we include the select board? Do we include the public safety building committee as leadership?
I think so. I mean, yeah, I think the public safety building committee will end up being, the continuing entity after you get through the feasibility study. I assume the PSBC will continue to exist, and whether it takes on other members or not, I don't know. But you can talk about maybe some of the I don't know, some of the qualifications of the people on the committee, maybe.
Well, I also think the fact that it's a committee of appointments, that we've got representation from other committees and boards that have responsibilities in town, and that we, strive to get people with engineering or architectural or public safety backgrounds. The two chiefs are on the committee. Those kinds of points.
Yeah. No, I think those would be fine. Yeah.
Historical.
Yeah. So
you want me to throw some stuff on that too, Mark? Would that be helpful?
Sure. I'm an engineer, not a linguistic. So.
All right. We'll let you tackle that then. Okay. All right. What else?
Well, we got some difficult things I've labeled on page 14. If you keep going down, it's to 6.1.
I'll take the budget questions there and deal with that. 215. And Mark, we'll look and see if we can find that map, and I'll shoot that around if we find it. From the senior center one, page 14, you said?
Yeah, these sections 6.1, 6.2, 6.3. These are some tough questions.
These may not apply to us, though.
Based upon what I saw, I believe it does. This is for section 6, building, vertical construction, and additional questions. It says you are seeing the below questions because you made the following selection: development continuum category, building. And as a designated small rural town, we recommend that you read the program guidelines.
Which we have.
So I don't know if you have the sample application. If you look on page 14 of that, I think we're responsible for answering 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4.
Okay, hold on. I got to stop sharing this one to pull up the other one. Just a sec. That's kind of crazy. I don't know. I would have thought that once we hit, oops, hold on. Where did this go?
Sorry, my computer wouldn't unmute. I don't know why.
That's okay. Where'd this one go? I lost it. Hold on a minute. I lost it. I had your other one there, Mark, and I lost it. Where'd it go? Hold on.
Well, even if you could find the one that you sent me way back when, the sample contract or sample application.
Yeah, let me see if this is going to show up now. Hold on. Hey, share screen, do this. Can you guys see that? No, probably not. I can see it, but you can't. Oh, there it is. There we go. Hold on. Here we are. 50 miles too big, of course. Let me get it down there.
Yeah, if you fast forward to page 14. There we go. So under this, I'm reading what's inside the box. This is significant. You are seeing the below question because you made the following selection on 2.3. The selection we made at 2.3 was building. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but this seems to be where we're at. And that will require us to describe, or to answer 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3.
That's a little crazy.
And then I think we're 6.4 also. It says show for rehab and municipal construction. We're doing municipal construction.
Something doesn't feel right. No, something doesn't feel right here. I wonder if, I know they told us to select building, but
if you again if you want to skim back to page 3, we'll show you our options.
Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Because, I guess I'm thinking that once we hit all those down to 2.23 and it says, do you want to do the rural small town thing? And we hit yes, I think it takes us there. But
that would be nice.
I know it might be too much to hope for, but
okay, so you're at 1 point.
So it's somewhere right in here.
You're 2.3 is where you want to be. Keep going.
Here we are.
So project category, and then the feedback says we definitely should be doing building, which I show as X there.
Yep, which I put in.
And the options are under building is not, we're not doing,
I wonder if it should be pre-development though. See this, now I don't know if this showed up. This is what we ought to be. Right here, municipal building construction feasibility study. Municipal.
Well, we'll have that completed by the time we get the money for this.
That's true. That's true. So then building construction. And then it went down to here. And this one only applies to the rural small town one. So that's true.
That's why when I went to page 14, I'm assuming we have to answer that 6.1 to 6.4.
Okay. All right. Well, don't know that. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that that's not true.
I hope you're right. Because we have some difficult questions to answer there.
Yeah. What I might be able to do, let me just pull that one back up again for a second here.
Mark just said that the feasibility study would be completed by then, which we assume it will, but we will not have adopted the actual design at that point. So in a way, we're still working on a feasibility part of it. We may have a study, we may have really good information about what would work, but we haven't finalized it. And that's why, to me, that's sort of fits there.
I mean, we want the money for the next phase past the feasibility study.
Right, which is going to be to create the real in-depth design blueprints and all that kind of stuff, right? Whatever you call that. In engineering terms, Mark, what is that phase?
Yes.
You told us at the last meeting, what was that called? The something design?
Well, the final architectural plans.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what will happen in, say, early 2024. And that's what we need the money for, is for that. That's what we're trying to do. So it's not the feasibility, but it is one step beyond that, because it's not the actual construction either. It's right in between, right, Mark?
Yes.
Am I right? It's in between. It's not feasibility and it's not actual brick and mortar yet. It's that in between stage.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, some of this sounds a bit duplicative of a couple of the other questions.
Yes.
So that's what makes me think that maybe this doesn't, when they get into vertical construction, this may be a different. Do we own the property?
Yeah, this stuff. Do you own the property? How? If not, how are you going to get it before?
Yikes! Building rehab. Yeah. All right. Well, let's not kill ourselves on section 6. Let me see if I can get in and see how far it will let me go with. And what I may do, even though these are, I believe I can get in and edit and change things. So I can try and put in as much as we've got here, or at least a few sentences of an answer to each of these questions, so that it would allow me to advance, online, to see how far I can go and see where it takes us. And then obviously I just keep on saving the document and I don't hit submit until we've got it all finished, obviously. But I think that section 6 just sounds way off to me, but I sure hope it is. If it isn't, we've got a huge challenge, which I'm not sure we can manage by our deadline here.
Once you do save, can you go back and edit as
Yeah,
necessary?
Yes.
Should be able to go back and edit, add to it, etc. So that's what I'm saying, is I could even, take a few sentences of what we've got for each answer here, or even maybe just type in XXX for that matter. Just type in something so that the program recognizes there's some attempt at filling in something, and then it might let me go on to the next question. Some of these are kind of weird, the way they they manage your life here sometimes, but I don't know. So Diana, any thoughts on your end? Something that you'd like to tackle on this? I mean, I know you're kind of our overall eyesight viewer here in terms of tidying up and making sense out of some of our verbose language, but any particular thoughts you have? No. She's mute. You're mute, Diana. Sorry.
You don't. She can't unmute, but yet she texted me. But on the other hand, you don't look like you're muted, Diana.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay. Believe you, which you are. Okay, no problem. I don't know why you would be. Let's see. Unmute themselves. Let me try that one. I just try that again, Diana. No. I just did an let you unmute yourselves, but that didn't work. Okay. Must be something on your own computer. Okay, let's today, Thursday. Okay. This is due in, I believe, on next Friday, is it? Next Friday by midnight, I think, yeah? If I'm not mistaken. Let me look at that. On the I keep saying the first because I want to give myself a day ahead. I hate going up until the last minute on these. That I'm not. I did do that. Okay. I mean, okay. Let's try that again. Okay. Whatever. So it's due actually in on Friday, but I'd like to try and see how far we can get on it for the first, just to make that our internal deadline anyway. Let me see if I can get in later tonight and do a little bit of tinkering just to see how far I can get in this, and then I can shoot an email around to everybody to let you know whether we have to worry about section 6. What's going on with these unmute things here, guys? I don't know. I did an unmute, Cindy. Allow participants to unmute. I've got it checked.
There's
That's really
something, there
weird.
must be something funky going on with Zoom because
I think so.
I can't go back to the meeting minutes. Like my computer's like essentially
Yeah.
like halfway frozen and it's something with Zoom. So maybe it's
must
not
be.
you.
Okay. Well, I think we're probably going to wrap up shortly here anyway. So let me do two things. Let me put what Mark has given us for the narrative part in a Google Doc, and I'll send a link around for that. And then I will try to get in later tonight or tomorrow. I'll probably do it tonight or tomorrow morning, and see how far I can get just by adding in some words, something in there, and see if we can, once we hit that rural and small town thing, if that's the end of our life and we don't have to go into all this other craziness. That would sure be my hope. That would only make sense. But again, my logic doesn't necessarily mean it's somebody else's logic, especially the states. They keep saying how they're trying to make this an easy process for us, but I'm not sure that it's always true. So let me do that, and I'll let you know how I make out on that tomorrow. And then if people will take a look at what you've volunteered to write up, and just go ahead and put that in the Google Doc, and then when we're ready, I'll do a copy paste into the real thing and edit out anything that was just a placeholder for right now, just to let me advance in those documents. Okay. And we'll sort of hope that works and see what we can do. And,
okay, that sounds like a good plan. And if there's anything else that I can be helpful with, just let me know.
No, thanks. We'll see if we can work up something here and at least put it in anyway, and at least try to follow through with what we got for the expression of interest response anyway. So we'll do that. And Diana, just feel free to jump in, and anything that isn't clear or you can tidy up, and what's already in there, just go ahead and do that. That's great. And maybe just, I don't know what's easier. I think let's avoid all these crazy comment notes. I agree with that, but just underline, bold, whatever, just something wherever anything's added. That'll just be a clue for us to know that somebody got in and added something. Okay. Good. Well, we'll give that a whirl and we'll see what we can do. And maybe just as a temporary what if, I think I might put in I'll put in a meeting for grant committee on the 31st, same time, just a week from today, or week from yesterday, week from Wednesday, on the 31st.
I don't think I'm going to be able to join for that meeting, just
That's
because
okay.
I'm going to hopefully be in Yosemite Valley, and I don't think I'll have internet. But I'll try to do as much work as I can outside.
That's fine, Kate. That's fine. But let me just do that in case we need to touch base for something. Either Diana, you can't join either on the 31st. Okay. So we'll see. I'll just put a holder out there for a meeting in case we need to have one. If we did it the 30th, is that any better, Diana, or not? No. To shake your head or something. No. Okay. Okay. Well. Okay. Yeah. Well, the first, I guess we could always do it the first, which is the day before. Okay, let me do it for June 1st, and I'll put a meeting in for June 1st just to have one in case we need a reconnoiter at the last minute. Okay, I'll do that, and maybe could people meet in the morning rather than in the afternoon, just to give me longer time during the day if we needed it? Is morning okay for anybody? Okay, 10 o'clock-ish. Perfect. All right, I will do that. You'll get a notice on that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So with that, yeah. And Kate may have disappeared. I'm not sure.
I'm here. Okay. I'm just on my cell phone. So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. It's exactly what I was looking for. Diana, just raise your hand and second it, please. All right. It's a second. We are adjourned at 3:06. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.